Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast. We watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Bob. How you doing, bud?
Right before this, I was okay, and now we're here.
Okay.
Oh,
That's fair
God.
enough.
No, this has been a long week, and I've had a long 2 days, so it's just a lot to record this podcast again today. It's like I told you this, but I had stuff to do yesterday. I went to 2 different parties yesterday, but on different directions. So I drove 30 minutes north, and then I drove 50 minutes south on the way back to go to a different party. I just need to stop going out. I hated it.
Maybe just don't go to parties.
Yeah, but people invite me, and I feel obligated to attend.
Well,
Even though I have a good time, usually, and it's, fun, I'm just, exhausted now.
I mean, that's completely fair.
And now I have this responsibility, so it's like, oh, my God.
You still got more rest than I did before this recording session.
That's true. That's fair.
On that note, do you have any news?
I mean, we could talk about it. You just showed me the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer.
Yeah,
the
I was
second
going to
one.
bring that up.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Did you watch the teaser trailer at all?
Mm-mm.
I think that was the first one. So they just released a second official trailer for that movie. And we're talking about it here because I know it's a big deal for a lot of people. It doesn't look good.
No, it does not look good.
They actually show the costumes, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in this trailer. And straight off the bat, I want to say the costumes look really, really good. Like the animatronic guys.
Mm-hmm.
They look really, really nice. And they look weirdly like the game.
Yeah, which I didn't know they were going to be able to capture, to be honest. I thought that was
Yeah.
going to be difficult.
It's something about the gloss of the animatronics.
Yeah, it almost looks like cel-shaded, kind of.
Yeah. They look really good is what I want to say. And I can tell just looking at them, they got some really nice animatronics in them for when they need it and aren't using CGI. However, in this movie, they look stupid.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this the last time we talked about the movie, but I thought there was always going to be kind of a little bit of a gap between the idea and the medium.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really, really see it in that trailer.
They look goofy as fuck when they're walking around and shit.
Because they don't, I think, work in this real life setting in the
No.
same way they'd work in a video game because you can't separate yourself from
Yeah.
the goofiness of it.
You can't suspend your disbelief enough. They look too ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's also a thing. Because they look like the video game, they look even more goofy than,
Mhm.
say, a standard Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, which, I mean, let's be honest, that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's the basis.
And, those have a little bit more realism to them than these ones. Because
Mhm.
those look like, cheap, I don't know, fur and plastic and shit.
Yeah.
But these ones, they look really, really good, and they look like the video game, but it gives them more of a uncanniness in real
Mhm.
life.
No, yeah, there was a moment in the trailer where one of them attacks somebody, and I went, "That is preposterous."
Yeah.
I want that to be good. I want that movie to be good, not only because people are really fans of it, and it's a really popular IP when it comes to video games and stuff, but because it would be a cool movie to be well made. And I think it's an interesting premise, but it doesn't look like it looks like they're going too hard in trying to make it look like the game, and when they could have just made it scary.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a problem with the idea. They've at this point made a couple different movies that are essentially Five Nights at Freddy's because this movie has taken so long to come out.
Yeah.
The big one's Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, I've heard that movie's okay. It's got Nick Cage, though.
It's okay. It's not my favorite Nick Cage movie.
I know.
But point being is we've seen the concept tested a bunch of times, and every time it's kind of sort of not really worked very well. So I think there's just an issue with the concept. But I do think you're right, where I would like to see some horror movie that's an adaptation of a video game actually work out really well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be this one, but on the bright side, I do think it's going to make a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to open to the field to more of that, I think.
Yeah, and my thing is there are tons of really, 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 really good horror games that they could adapt into films. Look, I love Outlast. I'm a scared little bitch. I've played Outlast multiple times. That game is so good. If they could do an adaptation of that's a TV show or some sort of media, I would love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of saw it. People love The Last of Us, and that's technically a horror game.
Yeah.
More horror survival, but
It's a little different. And also that wasn't a movie. you know.
Yeah, it was like long form TV.
That's a little bit easier to do
Mhm.
than a movie, but it'll be interesting to see going forward. I think it'd be interesting to see. There's some really nice video adaptations, like video game adaptations of like movie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I think the biggest one that comes to mind for me is the Alien video game.
Oh my god, I'll never touch it.
But I mean, technically, you could probably adapt that back into a movie.
That's
It'd be
pretty funny.
good.
I mean, there's also like all those survival horror games, like the Friday game and the new Texas Chainsaw game that just came out.
Yeah,
My
it's been doing good.
my
as,
friend
like,
Cotton really
content.
likes the Texas Chainsaw game. He said it's really fun. Like really, it's he said it's like basically they polished the Friday game.
That's what it looks like.
It made it Leatherface instead of Jason, and he said it's really, really good. He's having a really good time playing it.
I think part of that one's kind of cool because it brings something new to like that genre of Dead by Daylight style video games. And
Yeah.
that you can play as multiple killers instead of one. So it's a team of killers versus a team of
Survivors.
which is in some ways a lot more horrible
Mm-hmm.
for the players who play survivors.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a lot more fun if you play as the killer with your friends.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, if you got a bunch of people together, I'm sure that game's fucking fantastic to play
We'll see how it does like
long term.
long term though.
Yeah, that's my worry is because like there was so much hype when the Friday game came out, and people played it for about 2 months, and then it fell off the face of the earth, and then got shut down.
That was because of support reasons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm hoping that it stays like going because I'm very interested.
But I do think the other issue is just like long term players.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just hard to get that.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason Dead by Daylight does so well is because they introduce ridiculous, insane killers. Like, they just recently released the Xenomorph. You can play a Xenomorph in
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight.
On the Alien like map,
Yeah,
In
it's
Nostromo.
fucking sick. Like, it's so cool. Nick Cage is one of the survivors.
if you want. That's also DLC.
If you want.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised Dead by Daylight's still going. Because, like, it's fun.
It's cool.
But, like, there's a bunch of games in that same genre.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, they usually don't last very long.
Yeah.
Like, for major player bases. And that one has a major player base still. It's
And
not
I
surprising.
think it has a major player base because it has so much good support.
I think it gets it's not necessarily great support, but I think the people who are in charge of that game know how to keep public interest on it
Mm-hmm.
by doing stupid things like a Nick Cage skin for your survivor.
Yeah, but no, it's like a whole character with like skills and everything.
Yeah, I know.
It's awesome.
Another one I really want to play. Again, we're way off topic now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
But-
I like to get these in at the start of the podcast sometimes.
They have the Evil Dead video game.
Never played it.
Well, you can't play it yet until
Oh,
you
wait.
watch the movie.
Oh, no, I was thinking of a different game.
Oh.
I was thinking of Evil Within. You said Evil
Mm.
Dead, and I went,
No, there's an Evil Dead game for like the
Oh.
Evil Dead franchise,
okay.
which you can't play until you watch the movies.
But
But it's kind of interesting because it has like you can play by yourself. Like you don't have to play.
is it like a single player story game or like a multiplayer
No,
story
it's like
game?
I guess the closest thing would be like a Dead by Daylight kind of game,
It's kind of cool.
but you can play with like a full AI game, so you're by yourself.
You could just be. I assume you can play as Ash, and you just got a bunch of deadites chasing
You
you.
can play as different people.
That's cool. That's actually really cool.
You can also play as the Deadites in that game, which
Oh.
is pretty rad.
That is pretty rad. I don't know much about
Yeah.
deadites other than what we discussed on. That's come out. Jason Goes to Hell, because the Necronomicon is in that movie.
I love Deadites.
Yeah.
They're so scary. With that being said, it apparently has a bunch of content from both the movies and the TV show, which is kind of nice.
Oh, I didn't know they made a show.
Got 3 seasons.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Bruce Campbell came back for it too. Like he's the main character of the TV show.
Oh, whoa, that's actually really cool.
It's Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh,
That's the name of the TV show.
okay.
All right. On that huge note, I think the only thing we have to mention last but not least is Eli Roth is doing a new movie.
Oh my god, I don't want to watch it.
It's called Thanksgiving.
Did that trailer come out? I sent you a link to. Oh, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh god, I don't want.
You didn't
to.
send me the link to the trailer. I just found the trailer.
No. I sent you a link to them. People talking about the trailer coming out.
Oh. No, I just saw the poster for Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then a couple days later, I watched the trailer.
That's what it was a post with the trailer.
I don't know. It looks decent enough. I mean, it's Eli Roth.
It's Eli Roth. That's what
which
scares me.
Bob hasn't seen any Eli Roth, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think you've watched any of him. Do you know what movies he does?
Yeah.
What does he do, Bob? Actually, I think you have.
No,
You've
I
seen-
I
have you seen-
thought I saw Hostel.
Oh, you haven't seen Hostel?
I don't think I've seen Hostel.
Okay. Well, he does Hostel. He does Green Inferno,
Yeah.
Cabin Fever. Basically, lots of, I'm just going to say gross
Yep.
films.
That's the way to put it, as I would say, like, gross, disgusting films.
And I think that really does come from, he has a big love of, like, kind of exploitation films, but especially, like, Italian exploitation films. I think it's Green Hell, right?
Green Inferno?
Green Inferno. Jesus Christ, yeah. Green Inferno is basically his spiritual successor to Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh,
like,
God.
he's a big
oh
fan of
my
that film.
God. What the hell?
And so, like, point being is you don't have to like Eli Roth's, like, style and stuff like that, but he does tend to be decently consistent for, like, putting out good stuff.
movies? Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things. Like, people who like Eli Roth always like his movies.
Yeah, like, he usually tends to be pretty on tone with all this stuff. So it'll be good going forward, I think. I think it'll be fun. And especially because it's a slasher, which I don't think he really does.
Oh, I actually didn't know that it was a
looks
slasher.
like a slasher. Like, it looks like it's a guy dressed as a pilgrim killing people.
That's kind of awesome. You know, I just thought about Ben. November's coming up. We have to do a Thanksgiving episode again, and we're not watching Blood Rage again. We're not doing that.
You're gonna watch Thanksgiving 2.
No, shut up.
Not the first one.
No, that's oh god.
Just the second
We
one.
could watch the new Eli Roth film for Thanksgiving.
It won't be out for us
Is
to
it
watch.
Not out?
It's not out yet.
Well, no, I know, but like, won't it be out by the time Thanksgiving comes around?
But not on, like, Blu-ray or buy on demand. Well, it might be available on buy on demand, but it'll be like $30.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just making a suggestion because like we need a movie for that.
Maybe next year, but this year, I don't know.
Okay. I just thought I'd put it out there.
Thanksgiving 2.
No, I don't want to
baby.
watch Thanksgiving
I
2.
don't either.
Then why are you suggesting it?
Because I know it causes you pain.
I'll watch Thanksgiving. I actually like that movie. It's not good. Like, that movie's awful, but it's fun.
One of the characters reminds me of Bob. Bob got angry when I said that because he knows
That's
which
offensive.
one.
That's so offensive, bro. Okay, last thing. And I wanted to mention this a minute ago before we got on this Eli Roth tangent. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. I just thought this should come up on the podcast.
Jesus Christ.
If you're not playing Baldur's Gate, what are you doing? That game is so fucking good.
Not being a nerd.
I maybe have put 10. I'm really late to the party, TBH. I bought it like really late because I didn't think I was gonna. I didn't think I was gonna play it. But then all my friends were playing it and telling me about it. And I went, that sounds really fun. Man, it's worth the hype. That game is so good. I'm just like shilling Baldur's Gate right now.
I mean, it's supposed to be well done, right? Which is, I think, a big benefit of it. But I will say, it's a game especially made for people who are fans of D&D.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're not familiar with D&D, you're not going to have as fun of a time.
See, that's what I thought. But a couple of my friends are playing it who don't know anything about D&D, and they're still having an amazing time.
That's what I said. No, so it's legitimately a good game. However, you might not have as good of a time as Bob's making it sound right now.
That's fair.
Because Bob is just a big D&D fan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We did just finish up like a 4-year-long campaign that ran for 72 sessions.
Bob's a nerd.
Yeah. So, like, being a fan of D&D helps, but if you're just a fan of RPGs in general, this is one of the best, like, RPG games I've played ever. So good. Such a fun time. I'm having a blast playing it. Just thought I'd put that out there that it's really, really good. I told Ben he should buy it so we can play multiplayer together because it's so fun.
It's so expensive, though.
It's like 60. It's a normal game. It's like $60.
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Oh, my God.
I've been playing a lot of modded Factorio.
Oh,
That's-
my God.
That's my go-to.
We
I
need to,
own
we need to play more
Factorio.
Factorio.
I love Factorio, but I've been playing Factorio Space, which I've told you is like the couple 100-hour add-on to Factorio.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're playing slow, it's so long. But I bring it up here because this is completely non-horror related, but since we're completely off tangent now, that game got completed like, I want to say last year or the year beforehand. It was in like, you know how games are nowadays where they're never out of production.
Yeah.
But it finally completed like a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that, which was super cool and super exciting. But they announced that they were going to do like expansions to it.
Yo, that's
to, like,
cool.
Keep releasing stuff because they'd polished the base game to like completion. And the first one that they're releasing is Factorio Space Age, which is the space mod, the mod I'm playing right now. It's one of the most well-known mods because it is so well done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing their first expansion, which is going to be like a more user-friendly version of this mod.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it's going to add like probably at least 100 hours worth of content because you can go into space and build spaceships and go to different planets and all that. But what's so cool about that, and I do love when companies do this, is they hired the mod creator to like work on that expansion.
Oh, that's so nice. That is one of the nicest things about like
Indie
doing
stuff.
long-term modding for like a game like that, and then the creator goes, "Yeah, you're doing really good work. You want to come work for us?"
Yep.
So nice. Such a cool thing.
Always super cool to see stuff like that. It's really only in the indie scene though.
Yeah, it's really hard to get stuff like that for like bigger games.
The one that comes to like the top of my head for a similar thing that happened is Isaac.
Yeah.
Did that with
Mm-hmm.
The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, if anyone doesn't know.
Yeah.
Their last expansion. what was that?
Repentance?
Repentance?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
I think that's the one. Was a mod for a really long time.
It was a really popular mod.
And they basically did the mod as actual content.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. It's I've gotten back into Isaac too. My time has basically been Isaac, Baldur's Gate, and the podcast.
But you can shame Bob for that. If you guys want to go on the Twitter
Oh my
Like Beware the Board?
god!
and give Bob shit because he plays video games on his PS4, which is completely fine, but he plays things that I know he's going to play for years on his PS4, and he'll then have
PS4
to
is
keep
dying.
his PS4, and his PS4 is a piece of shit.
It's so
We watch Blu-rays on it. You can hear the fan going at all times.
it's a release PlayStation 4. I bought it day of release when it came out. So when was that? Like 2013?
I don't know. Long time ago.
Yeah. And it is not. It's survived.
Barely.
I've had it cleaned multiple times. Doesn't help. I just need to buy PS5 on God.
It sounds like you turn on the hand dryer in a public restroom.
It's bad. I can't
great.
imagine what it sounds like in the new room. If we sound echoey still or weird, I have put up some foam, but it's
Well,
not a lot.
It's not going to help, Bob. You put up maybe a 2-foot square of foam.
No, it's more. I'd say those are about a foot wide, so that's not even a 2-foot square. Or no, it's a little bigger than
It's
a
a
2-foot
3
square.
by 2.
Yeah, I just don't have enough foam yet. Like I have enough foam.
It's the tiniest corner of foam, and you're like, yeah, I got to put up foam already.
Well, I started on the
It's
process.
True, but it barely counts.
Well, no, I mean it helps. It actually does. I'm being honest, like it really does. I can hear the difference.
I can't.
Oh well, okay.
But I'm sure there's still some echo because I've been watching the waveform, and I can visually see every time you talk on mine.
Yeah.
Anyways, you just ready to actually?
Yeah, we
this
should do the
episode?
podcast now. We should actually like do the horror part of the podcast. The podcast part of the podcast. That isn't just us talking about stuff we could talk about off the podcast.
Now, Bob,
Yep.
I kind of know what you're gonna pick today, right?
Mm.
Just because you're very predictable, and it's obviously gonna be camp movies,
Oh, I thought you were being serious for a
so
second.
you could finish up that category.
No, I was gonna say Ben and I had a very long discussion before the podcast. Not very long. It was 10 minutes. That's long for me. I have very short attention span. And
It helped that Bob wasn't set up, so we spent 40 minutes setting up.
yeah. Well, I woke up late because
Mhm.
I was very tired from 2 parties yesterday. But we're down to 1 spot in space movies,
Yep.
1 spot in camp movies, and
Yep.
2 spots in meta slashers. And Ben was like, "Well, how do you want? Which one are you picking today?" And I don't really want to watch another camp movie
Bob has just not wanted to watch this all season.
because, for fuck's sake, Benjamin, how many Friday films have we watched?
11.
We haven't watched the 12th one yet.
I know.
Spoilers.
It's pretty bad.
Yep, we
Not the
haven't.
movie, just having not watched
And we
it.
need to have done that. We were supposed to do that last week, but I forgot one day and was like, hold on, I have to edit an episode of the podcast after work. I don't have time for this right now.
Probably not going to do it this week either.
No, we probably should do it this week.
We're probably not going to do it this week.
Fuck. Okay, we'll figure it out.
Bourbon and Beyond next week.
Are you going?
I got tickets.
Oh my god. Anyway.
They didn't pay for them, but
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's actually more fair. I thought you
See?
bought tickets, and I was
No.
like, oh, they're expensive.
yeah, no.
What was I saying? Anyway, I don't want to watch camp movies. I'm over it. Okay? I
But
don't.
maybe the last spot's really good.
Like, Piranha was fun. I had a good time. And I don't hate Madman. I thought it was a cool movie. Actually, when I was looking for the poster for that, I looked at reviews online. People actually really love that movie.
No, it's a cult classic.
It's a
Like,
cult
people
classic.
Love it.
People love it. It's okay.
In fact, I think most of the reason it didn't do great is it came out late
yeah.
because of that whole like delay issue
Mm-hmm.
with having to change the name and all that stuff and then rewrite the script. And so it came out after the market was oversaturated.
No, yeah. So it's not that the movies in the category have been bad. It's that I just am tired of the premise.
So maybe we could just wipe it out.
No.
Wipe the slate clean.
I want to have a good day today.
Yeah, so maybe you'll have a good day with the last camp movie.
Shut up. And I don't want to kill space just yet because I kind of want to save that for the last episode.
That's fair.
Because I'm hoping that there's a specific movie on there. And if there's not, I'm going to be so upset.
Spaceballs.
I have a copy of Spaceballs right there. That movie's fantastic. I love that movie so much. We should watch Spaceballs for the podcast. Anyway.
We definitely can't.
We definitely can't. It's very funny. But it's not
very scary.
Unless you're afraid of pizza, and that's
Dude.
very scary.
For anyone who doesn't know, it has a joke about Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, Pizza the
It's
Hut.
Pizza the Hut. And to make the Pizza the Hut special effect, they covered a guy in molten cheese, and he got like 3rd-degree burns all over his
Oh
body.
my god, I didn't know that.
Because there were some issues when they did it.
Oh my god.
But he did the scene while burning.
Fuck that. That movie's incredibly funny. Anyway, so I'm going to pick meta slashers.
Shocking.
You're saying shocking, but I told you before the podcast that's what I was going to pick.
I knew what you were going to pick before I even came over today.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Bob, you're very predictable. You're very predictable.
I feel like I'm trying so hard to not be predictable.
No, you're so predictable.
Okay, well, maybe I am, but who fucking cares?
Because you're going to do this, and then you're going to do, I'm guessing, camp movies next week. And then the week after, you're going to do probably another meta slasher, and then end on space.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
And if you don't, I'm going to blame it on pure spite, and not that I predicted wrong.
See, now you're just covering your tracks with that one. Yeah, so I'm going to pick meta slashers. What do I have left in that category? I actually don't know.
You have spots 1 and 2.
1 and 2. I don't want to watch Scream purely out of spite for Hunter. And I hope we get Scream so he hears this because I know he'll listen to this episode.
What if there's no Scream on the board?
That would be insane. And you just trolled Hunter so hard because he's so angry about it. What's in spot number 1, Ben?
In spot number 1,
Yeah.
today we are going to be watching Urban Legend.
Oh, shit! Didn't I mention that on I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We'll also be watching Urban Legends Final Cut,
Oh,
the sequel to Urban Legends.
okay, cool. What is with the doubles this season?
I don't know. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Maybe we wouldn't have to address that fact.
You put them on the board. You built it. Why did you? I'm just curious. Like, is there a reason?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just built it, and you came, so here we are.
That was very funny, but I was taking a drink of coffee and almost spit all over the mic. Okay, Ben.
All
I
right.
know what this movie's about, and I'm excited.
What's it about, Bob?
Urban Legends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool deal. It's almost like it's in the title. But this movie came out in 1998, so it's
Around the
Right.
same period.
right after Scream. Same period as I Know What You Did Last Summer. Because, again, kind of a Scream ripoff, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, I say ripoff, but it's...
this is fairly different from what I know.
Yes, but it's in that same genre,
Mhm.
right? Because, like, again, we're calling this category meta slasher, but it's really what I'm using to refer to this short period of time where slasher movies had, like, a big resurgence, and they were all trying to be, like, geared towards teens and metatextual and, like, stuff like that. And so, long story short, this film, just like I Know What You Did Last Summer, is trying to catch on to the Scream wave.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very similar tonally, even if the concept's pretty different,
Cool.
Description, what's your favorite urban legend, Bob?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's going to be our description then.
I think my favorite classic urban legend, Alligator in the Sewer. I think that's an urban legend, right? That's a thing.
I believe that does technically count.
I
right?
love the idea that there are just big old gators down there.
Sewer gator.
Yeah, sewer gator.
I mean, depending on, like, what type of sewer system you have, that is technically possible.
Yeah.
Because if you have one of the ones that, like, dumps into actual, like, water,
Mm-hmm.
they can swim back up it. I don't know why they would, but
I don't know why they would either.
they could. All right. Alligators in the sewer. That's
Sewer
fine.
gators.
I thought you were going to say Hook Hand Man,
Nope.
because I've already seen that on this podcast.
No, it's fine.
All right. Length, it's an hour and 39 minutes long.
Okay.
It's rated R.
Noise.
Review scores. IMDb gave it a 5.6 out of 10.
It's not bad.
Tomato Meter gave it a 25%.
But
Audience score of 37.
okay.
It has 1 win for awards and 2 nominations. Notable actors in this film.
Ben gave me a look right before we started this
Because we're
list.
starting strong with Jared Leto
Whoa, what is he doing in this? What in the world?
as Paul Gardner. You might know him as Dr. Michael Morbius
Yep.
in Morbius.
God
He's
damn
also
it.
Everyone's favorite Joker, right?
Oh
in
god.
Suicide Squad.
I think didn't they actually cut him from the film almost completely?
I believe so, because he's
I
not in
believe
that movie a
he's-
lot.
Not maybe in that movie, not at all.
He is in that movie, just for like 5 minutes.
I know he's in the trailer and people were mad about it.
I don't know if they cut him, but he's very much not in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his track record for superhero movies is not great.
good. I actually don't know if I've seen any Jared Leto film ever.
Well, you're going to.
I'm about to.
Did you never see Suicide Squad?
Nope. I heard it was awful. Why would I watch it?
I don't know. It wasn't that bad. Alicia Witt as Natalie Simon. She played Alia in Dune. Rebecca Gayheart as Brenda Bates. Played Julia Freeman in Jawbreaker. Tara Reid as Sasha Thomas. Played Vicky in American Pie. Bob, you haven't seen that, right?
No, I haven't seen that.
Michael Rosenbaum as Parker Riley. He played Lex Luthor from Smallville.
I didn't see that. I haven't seen Smallville.
On 154 episodes from 2001 to 2017.
Did not know that show ran that long. Holy fuck.
Yeah, it was supposed to be really good.
I heard it was really good too.
I haven't seen Smallville either, right?
I
'Cause
heard it was good.
it came out before my time.
Same.
2000. I was not watching Smallville at what,
No.
5 or 6. But it says 2001 to 2017 on like IMDb and stuff.
Did not know it ran to 2017.
I'm guessing it didn't. I'm guessing there was like a last season thing where it skipped a bunch of years.
Oh, maybe. I have no idea.
I'm not familiar with it, but
I thought it ended like
because I think it ended in like way sooner than that.
2009 or something.
2008. That's what I was thinking. So my guess is that's like a secondary thing,
Mm,
like maybe a movie or something,
maybe.
because 154 episodes is not enough to stretch 16 years.
No.
Loretta Devine as Reese Wilson. They played Shaniqua in Crash. Joshua Jackson as Damon Brooks. Played Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek. They were on 128 episodes from 1998 to 2003. Did you ever watch Dawson's Creek?
No, I wasn't really into like
Older
yeah,
stuff.
older like what is that? Like a sitcom kind of? It's not like a sitcom, but it's like a
It's like
family
teen
drama.
drama.
Yeah, never really into that except for Riverdale.
Well, I was gonna say you watch Riverdale.
Yep.
And Dawson's Creek, again, not alive for it, but it was apparently so big.
People love that show. Apparently, it's really
doubt.
good.
I'm not sure how much it would hold up today,
Yeah,
because like it's a show about teenagers that
from
live
like
in-
the 90s.
yeah, and life for them is very different than
Life.
life now
Yeah.
with the internet and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
John Neville as Dean Adams played Hieronymus Carl Friedrich Baron von Munchausen and the Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
What a fucking mouthful.
I know. I fucked up saying that too. But yeah, it's Baron Munchausen and Baron Munchausen.
Don't know what it is.
Natasha Gregson Wagner as Michelle Mancini played Cassandra in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
Didn't watch the movie.
I know.
I watched the show.
I need to go watch that movie because we've mentioned it a bunch on this
We
podcast.
have
now.
mentioned it a bunch on this podcast.
Basically, any movie with like teenagers that came out in the 90s has had someone from that film.
Yep.
Stephanie Ann Mills as Felicia. They played Lindsay and Katie from Total Drama. You know Total Drama, Bob.
Like The Island?
Yeah.
Are you
Like
serious?
the franchise, yeah.
Holy shit.
They played, again, both Lindsay and Katie.
I know Lindsay 'cause she was from the first season.
They were on 63 episodes from 2007 to 2013.
God, that show was not for kids. And it was on Cartoon
It was
Network.
made for kids.
It was not for kids,
but like
Ben.
not kids, but probably like early teenagers.
They have a not for kids.
What do you mean?
There are some references in that show where I go, that is a fucked up joke, and
What are you talking
that's
about?
going right over kids' heads.
What are you talking about?
There's some rather explicit stuff that they get around.
Like what? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The end of the first season, someone like gets completely topless, and there's like censor bars and shit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything. And it's just like I'm like, as
Yeah.
a 10-year-old, I'm like, what is going on?
Oh. No,
But there's also just like some like there are lots of jokes that go over kids' heads, but are very adult humor, I guess, sprinkled into the show.
I guess, but that's because that show's based on like reality TV show like Survivor.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like, I don't want to say adult oriented, but like reminiscent of an adult TV show.
And it is.
And then finally, we got Julian Richings as weird janitor. And to be honest, he's like a character actor.
Okay.
I know you've seen one thing with him in it. But
Okay.
like he has just the most recognizable face ever. Like he's a particular looking dude.
Okay.
He's super recognizable, and you'll definitely know him if you've seen him before. But as I said, kind of a character actor, so he doesn't do like huge roles.
Mm-hmm.
So probably don't know him by name. But kind of two things that maybe most of our audience might know him as. He was one of the governors in The Witch. Good movie.
I haven't seen it.
Not very approachable, but I do love that film.
Yeah.
It's all
You've
in,
said
like,
that.
it's not Middle English, but it's in like pretty antiquated English.
I was gonna.
It's really cool. But
Yeah.
yeah. He's also in Cube. I forget which character he is. He's in the cold open for that movie.
Cube.
Yeah.
Oh God.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But the one that Bob's going to know him as. Oh, he was also Lore M in Man of Steel.
I didn't watch Man of Steel.
The one Bob's going to know him as is he was Death from Supernatural.
Oh yeah, I do see.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Nice.
was on 5 episodes from 2010 to 2015. Really recognizable dude.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see him and you go, yeah, that's...
There he is. Found him.
Anyways, moving on. Directors, Jamie Blanks. He also directed Valentine. It's a Valentine's Day movie.
Okay.
If you didn't pick up on that.
No, yeah. Look. Nothing is gonna beat My Bloody Valentine for a Valentine's Day movie. I'm sorry. We haven't seen any other Valentine's Day movie, but I don't know how much better it could get.
That's fair.
Ben, all I can think about is I'm doing a mime. You know what I'm talking about. Like that scene is crazy.
Yeah, but it's not as crazy in the uncut version.
Well, yeah.
No, it's not as crazy in the cut version.
And I watched the uncut version.
The uncut version's so much better.
So much better.
So much better for that movie. Like,
Oh my
highly recommend
God.
if you can find it.
Yeah.
Can you watch this is totally aside. Can you watch the Blu-ray with those in it, or do you have to
That's
go
what I did.
watch the features?
I watched the Blu-ray with those in them.
Like it comes with them
Mhm.
cut in. Okay,
Yep.
that's really nice.
It's so much better.
Writers Sylvia Horta. They also wrote 85 episodes of Ugly Betty between 2006 and 2010. Budget's estimated at $14 million
Damn, that's a good chunk of change.
with a box office of $72.5 million.
Ooh.
Because these movies just make money.
God, they made so much money.
That's why everyone was making Scream ripoffs.
God.
This is one of the better ones. I mean, like, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is probably the best.
Yeah.
And this is probably number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to be honest. Country of origin, United States. Tagline, it happened to someone who knows someone you know. You're next.
Okay. That tagline's incredibly funny.
It's pretty good.
But it's good. And it's
Yeah.
only funny because that's such a early 90s, early 2000s
It happens to
phrase.
someone who knows someone.
Yeah, it's like I know somebody who knows somebody who knows some. It's like, oh, that's just funny. It's just good.
I don't really have too much to talk about before we get into the movie, but what I will say is this film has been credited by a bunch of different people, both cinema and people who are actually into folklore stuff and
Mhm.
urban legends, like scholars, as being one of the first major films to kind of bring the idea of urban legends into the public eye for cinema.
That's cool.
This is kind of the film that made that really big, because you have to remember at one point in time it was very much a word of mouth thing,
Yeah, well, that's why that tagline's so funny.
but it in the sense that it wasn't something you saw in TV a lot.
No, it's not like a popular media thing. It's very much if you're a part of this subculture and you know about it, you know about it, and if you don't, you don't.
because I don't think they necessarily had a definite name to them.
No,
Per
they were
se,
just stories that
They
you
were
heard.
just I don't know, campfire stories you would tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so this movie really helps put them on the map. It's oh, these are some funny stories that we could make a movie out of or something.
Some of them were funny.
Look, this movie Urban Legend did it and they made $72 million. We could put that in our TV show
Yeah.
and do well. So I think that's pretty cool. And obviously we've seen like urban legend inspired movies before.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, Madman.
I was gonna say Black Christmas,
Oh, well, that too.
but none of them are like as explicit about it.
No, this is the only one that's like, yeah, this is an urban legend. Like, that's the point of the film,
Yeah.
which is like super meta. And I think that's probably the point. But it's
Yeah.
cool.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is just shooting location. So this is a lot of it's set at a college.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't.
it's the University of Toronto.
What is with the Canada?
Tax breaks.
Okay. I was about to say, lots of movies be shot in Canada.
But it's supposed to be set at the fictional Pendleton University. Yeah, no, a lot of stuff shot in Canada because of tax breaks. I'm not sure specifically what it is, but things are really cheap to produce there nowadays. I'm not sure if, like, I say nowadays, I know in the early 2000s and stuff,
Yeah.
like,
That's why a lot of Supernatural was shot up there.
not a lot of it. I think all of
I was
Supernatural
about to say, all
shot
Supernatural was shot in Canada, I think.
there. And there's just a lot of stuff that's shot there. Tucker and Dale was shot there.
Tucker and
We'll talk
Dale.
about that. My Bloody Valentine shot there, but that's for
That's because
completely
it's a
different
Canadian
reasons.
film.
Yeah, just tax break stuff. So, anyways, that's all I got for now. So we're just gonna go watch this movie.
Okay. Well, see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching Urban Legend.
All right, can I just start off
Yep.
by saying how just smart and intelligent Bob is?
Oh, wow. You are the worst human being I've ever met in my life.
He was totally on top of this movie from the get go.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Man,
All right.
you think you're so funny.
I do. I
You
do think
are-
I'm so funny. We'll talk about that later. But Bob, apparently you think I'm so funny too.
I hate you.
All right, Bob, what were your thoughts on this movie?
Mixed feelings.
Yeah, kind of lukewarm.
It's fine.
Besides from your one issue, and we'll get to that issue later.
Yeah. It's fine otherwise.
Okay.
Like, it has, move this way. It has some cool moments, but there is some stuff in this film that I just could not get over. And that's my only problem.
Fair. There's a specific thing Bob had a problem with, and to be honest, I think Bob was just being a contrarian, but I do understand why he had an issue with it.
I just don't get it. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. On that note, though, I'm just gonna give a quick rundown, and then we'll start discussing it. As always, spoilers. Go watch the movie yourself. But if not, I'm just gonna start. Thing to note about this movie is it's about urban legends, and very specifically, it's not so much about like telling you about urban legends, so much as it's about getting to watch deaths that are framed around urban legends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically the whole premise here is there's a killer going around. Go figure, it's a slasher movie. And they're using urban legends that were like, assumedly the more popular ones at the time, to commit murders. And the murders are vaguely framed as these urban legends.
Yeah.
And that's really the fun of the movie, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's we talked about this at the beginning of the episode. It's a quote-unquote meta-slasher, which is just what I'm referring to, like a Scream rip-off, per se. I don't want to call it a rip-off, because that seems mean, but it's a very Scream-inspired slasher movie. And so, there's all the basic elements we do see in Scream, where it's like kind of like a whodunit and like a murder mystery kind of thing. And obviously there's all these meta jokes and stuff. But the real fun of the whole movie is that slowly we get to see more and more of these urban legend inspired killings.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, that's the premise of the film.
people die one by one in these very over the top ways,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to figure out who this
Murderer
faceless
is.
killer is.
And I'll be honest, Ben made fun of me because I was like, I know who it is.
Bob was very confident. We only have outtakes that are Bob being very confident.
Me going, it's this person.
yes.
Turns out, not that person.
Bob got tricked hard.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really have much to say about this movie because it's kind of meh.
I mean, that's how I feel too.
And really, to be honest, I think the whole movie, like as a whole, is fairly passable
Mm-hmm.
because it delivers on its concept, which is urban legends inspired killings.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the film overall has one really big issue, and I think you noticed it: the characterization. Like, all the characters in this movie are just so nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, that doesn't necessarily matter in a slasher movie,
No, it doesn't. But
because in like a movie like this, that's, you know, essentially a whodunit for the killer, we focus a lot on the characters. Especially like the main characters, quote unquote, the ones you're supposed to care about. And so for their characterization to be not great, it makes the parts that aren't like the urban legend killings kind of boring.
Yeah. No,
It's-
that's my problem with this film mostly.
You just don't care.
You just don't give a shit.
And obviously, it's always a really good tell for me if I don't care about a character is if I don't know their name. Not just I don't remember it. I just don't know it.
Yeah.
And we got to the end of this film, and I would turn the bottom, and I was like, do you know what the main character's name is? And both of us were just like,
I don't know.
no clue. I
Didn't
only know it now because they said it in the last 30 seconds
Yep.
about 30 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of know it now. It's Natalie, by the way. And I think she's probably the best example of bad characterization
Mm-hmm.
because not only do I think she was probably the least interesting female character in this movie, I don't, like, out of the main cast, I think she was probably the least interesting character.
Yeah. I mean, because, and here's the other thing. This is the reason she's so uninteresting. She doesn't do anything.
No.
The
She's
other
just-
characters are characterized by having hobbies and doing other things and like being ingrained in the school itself and doing outside like extracurricular stuff. So like you kind of get a feel of what type of person they're supposed to be.
It's cool. I mean, that is cool because it feels like a real thing.
Yeah.
I halfway through the movie, I just pointed at one of the characters. Her name's Sasha. She runs a radio station.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what I would have preferred? For her to be our main character.
Because she has a thing going on that's semi-interesting that can be like used and utilized for the plot.
And we get to see actually a good amount of in the movie
Mhm.
is her doing this radio show. And she also has more characterization as just an actual person.
Yeah. And Natalie does nothing.
No, she's just generic female college student.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't even act like a college student for most of the movie because she's freaking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not great characterization. And again, since she's very clearly the female lead pretty early on, spoilers, guys, it makes a lot of her scenes very hard to watch because she's trying to figure out who the killer is, and it's like, I don't really care
I don't give a
About
shit.
you
Yeah.
what's happening to you, especially because I think, learn as the film goes on, she's supposed to have kind of a sympathetic backstory.
There's a moment where I go, oh no, here comes the tragic backstory.
But because of her characterization being bad, not only do I not care about her sympathetic backstory, I actually watch it and I go, wow, this didn't make me feel sympathetic for you. It made me feel like you're a shitty person.
Because she's not characterized as being a good person. We're just supposed to like her because she is the protagonist,
Yeah.
which doesn't work.
And so, overall, I do think that's probably the biggest issue with this film.
Yeah.
It's just characterization. And we did focus on Natalie because she is the main character. But basically, every character has this problem.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the characters that have the most interesting traits, I think, tend to get the least amount of screen time in this
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned Sasha, but she's in this very, very little.
Basically just like a side character.
There's another character who has very clear characterization, Damon.
Yeah.
Cool name. Good reference there.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's the reference to? Are you going to tell me?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways,
I didn't get it.
Damon's a cool, he has good characterization. He's like the prankster who's also like a shithead.
Yeah.
But again, we don't use his character at all.
Nope.
And
He
that's
gets
kind
very
of-
little use.
Rough, because I need characterization in this movie. I need to care about some of these characters, but the ones that you get the closest with giving me that feeling, you didn't give me actual screen time for.
Yeah. No. And we didn't mention it while we're on the topic of characters. Robert Englund's in this.
Oh yeah, I can do the famous people in this movie.
Yeah.
Robert Englund's in this. He's the one I didn't tell Bob. That's just straight up in the credits.
Yeah, which sucked because I got it spoiled. But he's Wexler, and he has good characterization. He's cool.
Yeah, Wexler is he's a professor at this
Mm-hmm.
college, and he teaches. it just seems like an urban legends class.
Yeah, it's called folklore, I think is what they call it.
Which super rad class.
Super cool class to take.
Even though that for some reason none of the main cast of characters who for some reason all take this class from this guy.
Which is definitely not a required class for a credit or anything. It's
No.
probably an extracurricular class. Like
But they don't seem to like it. And I'm like, that's like it's such a cool class.
it's such a cool class.
And Wexler seems like a cool guy.
He also, he seems like a cool professor.
But he's a very interesting character, and that's mostly because Robert Englund pulls him off well. I don't think necessarily because he's written very well, but
No. But it's cool, like, usage of the professor in a way to, like, kind of scapegoat the murders. Because, like, they're all based off urban legends. So a big part of the movie is going, it has to be someone in the class or someone tied to it.
it's a good way to also introduce like the concept into the film.
Without feeling like,
An exposition dump.
yeah,
Even though he does give us one, it just feels natural.
it does feel really good.
But you're right, that is a good example of kind of like another fun character that's like not in this movie a lot.
No, he's not. And I wish he was more.
And that might just be because Robert Englund's kind of expensive. But
yeah,
like,
he's also probably busy.
we talked about the guy who plays the janitor, and he has like almost no speaking lines.
Yeah.
But he's pretty fun.
He's cool. He also plays a much bigger role in the film than I thought he was going to.
Let's see, who's some other characters who like are side characters, not even a part of the main cast.
There's always Hootie.
Hootie's a dog.
Hootie's the dog.
I wish there was some blowfish, but it's just Hootie. Hootie has a nose ring. Let me just mention that. It's kind of fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up.
But there's a bunch of like background characters that aren't even side characters, like Janitor, Dr. Wexler, that are just kind of interesting in this film.
Way more interesting than anyone else.
There's a police cop,
Oh, yeah, Reese.
Reese.
Reese is pretty funny.
I think she's supposed to be more of a more important character, but she's essentially a side character.
Yeah, she doesn't do a lot.
But she's interesting.
She has some good moments.
There's I almost forgot the main character's name again. Natalie. There's Natalie's roommate, Tosh.
Yeah?
Weird name, but goth chick.
Yeah.
Which is a decent character, like a more interesting character than any of her friends.
Oh, yeah, because it's not just generic college kid.
Yeah. Who's another interesting one? There's a gas station attendant in the
Oh,
cold
that
open
guy, look,
who is great.
he's fantastic.
We'll talk about the cold open in a minute. But yeah, there's just a bunch of characters that are super cool that just aren't in this movie because we
Yeah.
can't focus on them. So again, characterization, big issue with this film.
My problem is the characters just feel too generic.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so, except for maybe Paul.
It's too generic slasher.
That's my problem. With a cool spin that
Cool
doesn't
spin.
hard enough.
Yeah. On that note, though, we mentioned Robert Englund is in this movie as kind of like a famous person I didn't mention in the cast list.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch anyone else who's famous and in this movie?
Was I supposed to? Should I have?
Yes, you should have. You 100% should have, Bob. And you're going to be really mad at yourself.
You say that every time.
No, you're actually going to be really mad at yourself. First, I'll tell you the first one, which I
Okay.
don't think you were going to get, but we
Okay.
have seen him before.
Oh, have we?
And I know for a fact we've seen him, and I've gone, this is this person because he's really famous.
Okay.
Brad Dourif's in this movie. Do you remember
Oh,
who
that name's really
Brad
familiar.
Dourif is? He's Chucky, Charles Lee Ray.
That's who he is. Oh my, who was he?
He's the gas station attendant in the beginning of the movie.
I thought he looked fucking familiar,
Mhm.
but I was like, nah, just generic, man.
That's not the one that's going to make you really mad.
God damn it.
Very famous woman for this podcast is in this movie. Danielle Harris.
Where?
Danielle Harris is in this movie. Bob is stupid. I mean that in the nicest way, Bob. Bob, did you not figure it out? We see a lot of her in this film. She's Tosh.
Oh my god. She looks so, well, she doesn't look that different now I think
No.
about it.
It looks like Danielle
It
Harris.
just looks like Danielle Harris. Damn, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We've seen her a lot on this podcast.
Yeah?
She's in Halloween 4 and 5 as Jamie Lloyd. She's in Hatchet
Yep.
as
I rewatched
the
Hatchet.
main lady in 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
She's also in the Halloween remakes.
Yeah, Halloween 2007 and 2009.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's been actually a good, that might be our most prolific actor.
Oh, it definitely is.
Well, no, it's only 4 movies.
Yeah, she definitely is. And Bob apparently cannot recognize her
No.
because she doesn't look that weird as
No,
Tosh.
I
I was. How did you not realize?
Sorry, I just thought about a scene that Tosh is in that I now in context makes me feel weird.
Right?
I don't like
Okay.
that. I don't like
Um,
that at all.
That aside, we've I think harped on characterization enough. I think the two things I want to talk about with this film before we kind of move on, because again, I don't have too much to say. First of all, there's some nice meta moments in this film.
There's some really funny meta moments in this film.
My favorite is they drive in cars a couple times in this movie,
Yeah.
and when they start the car, there's music playing. And
Oh, yeah.
the music choices for what's playing in these cars, because it's pop music, and it's one of the only times they can get away with using pop music in the score. It's so good. It's so good
It's good retrospectively.
because it's like the lyrics that are playing kind of imply what's going to happen in the following scene.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're kind of aware of the genre and you recognize that song, and let me tell you, there's some recognizable songs, you go, oh.
Yeah.
In fact, the first time we hear music, it is so on the nose. It's great. I love it. And there's stuff like that throughout. Where just nice little meta things.
Yeah, there's tons of really good like meta moments and callbacks to stuff from earlier in the film where it feels like they had a pretty good like story and like script written out. It's just that some of the like stuff just doesn't land like I wanted it to.
Fair
Is
enough.
my main problem most of the time.
But I mean, besides the music, big ones that stick out to me is obviously the whole urban legend thing.
Oh, there's so many.
That is basically the most meta element of this
Mhm.
thing. But the one I do want to mention is the names of almost all the characters, especially their last names, are references to like famous horror stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the one that really sticks out is Michelle. She's
Oh,
the character
Mancini.
who dies in the cold open, but she's Michelle Mancini. But yeah, there's a lot of like names that are just horror references.
Okay.
There is one that's super, 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 super blatant, and we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to mention that. It's kind of good to note that this does fall into the meta kind of zeitgeist.
I just had a thought. There was something you kept saying during the movie.
What I kept saying.
I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah. With that being said, you know, the meta stuff is because of like the time period this movie came out
Mm-hmm.
and like what was popular. And I think that's kind of a nice point to mention that like this film is very, very clean, like as far as graphic violence is concerned.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about.
The movie's like, we talked about this during the movie. It's bloody.
Yeah.
Like, you see blood, but it's mostly just on the floor and stuff.
You don't see like you see people get killed, but it's framed in such a way that it is not violent.
No, there's like no gore.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting because it really does feel like a teen movie.
Mm-hmm. No, it
you
does.
know? Like if it wasn't for some of the language
Yeah.
and some of the scenes, it definitely could have probably slid down with the PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was probably given an R rating from a production standpoint of like we can probably appeal more to teenagers by giving it an R rating than we can a PG-13. Definitely fits the vibe, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For like teenage slashers. Like I know your only your background right now is I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it has that same vibe, right?
Yeah, because it lacks all of the gore, but has all of the like implied violence that you would want from something where you can't be so overt about it.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we move on to specifically talking about the urban legends in this film? Because I want to talk about those, but they're all going to be spoilers.
They all have to be spoilers.
Because
I will say, while we don't get to see the murders occur, the kills are all pretty cool.
well, yeah,
Because they're tied to the urban legends, but also there are some of them where they're tied to the urban legends, but they do a cool
interpretation.
interpretation of it that's really, really nice and like really fun.
Yeah. You good though?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Future Bob coming at you to let you know that if you do not want any major spoilers for this film, please skip to 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 5 seconds immediately. Once again, that's 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 5 seconds immediately for no major spoilers.
So I'm going to actually go through. I have a list of every urban legend mentioned in this movie,
Okay.
by the way. So I'm just going to go through it that way. But I just want to mention right here. Well, I think the urban legends are really, really cool. And probably my favorite part of this movie is like getting to see them pulled out as like elaborate killings.
Oh, yeah.
It's also kind of a big issue with this film because you're expected to know them And if you don't know them, it makes certain sequences not as enjoyable. One of the biggest sequences that Bob had a problem with in this movie, I think part of the reason he didn't like is because he didn't realize it was an urban legend. And he just thought it was kind of an egregious kill.
It's still egregious, even with context.
But I think the lack of context made it worse.
Oh, for sure.
And I do think that's an issue with this film, like, nowadays, because urban legends really aren't told in the same way they were back in the day. Like, most of these things aren't a thing anymore. Instead, we have, like, creepypastas and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not nearly as prolific.
But, like, these very clear-set stories that would have been told in the 90s that everyone was, familiar with. Maybe not as familiar nowadays. Because, to be honest, I know most of these from my childhood, which,
Same.
early 2000s. But I'm not too sure if, like, someone born in, like, the teens would necessarily know all these.
Probably not.
And I do think that would kind of greatly affect your enjoyment of this movie. But anyways, I'm just going to go through and list these, and we can talk about them some. So straight off the bat, I'm just going to talk about the urban legends that are talked about in the film, but we don't actually get to see carried out
Okay.
by the killer. So just the ones that are referenced. First one, there's a call to Sasha on a radio show. That's about a roommate switching the birth control with baby aspirin. Apparently that's an urban legend.
Didn't know that.
Didn't know that one either. There's one about another caller to Sasha's radio show, which again, I think proves that Sasha should have been the main character. Is about someone asking if they should have their stomach pumped after, like, performing oral sex.
Yeah. Didn't know that was an urban legend either.
Didn't know
Just
that one
thought that was
either.
a bit.
Another one on Sasha's radio show
Oh my god.
is about a couple that we'll say
Oh.
gets stuck together.
I've heard about that. Never happened to me. Heard about it.
Again, they're really using that radio show for a tie.
They're using it for a lot of stuff.
But we don't get to see that radio show as much as I want. By the way, I figured this out during the movie because I was like, how do I know this person? Sasha is also the wife in Sharknado,
Yep.
by the way. Professor Wexler mentions the babysitter upstairs
Yep.
during his lecture,
Classic. Black Christmas.
which is the basis for Black Christmas. And I think there's this fun reference where Brenda goes, but that actually happened in my town, which, is a part of the lecture of, like, Dr. Wexler proving that, like, all these stories were culturally a thing and people believe they actually happened in their town.
Yeah.
But I would like to point out that it also could be a reference to the fact that in this universe,
Black Christmas occurred.
yeah.
Because they're in Canada, which is where Black Christmas takes place.
No, they're in northeastern U.S.
Oh, no, they're in Maine. It was filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
I lie.
The Maine thing. I don't know necessarily if it's Maine, but the Dean had Maine license plates.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably a Stephen King reference because you probably don't know this. Like, so many of Stephen King's stories are set in Maine.
Yeah.
So many.
I mean, because that's where the town from It takes place. They
Derry?
mention, what is what we watched on the podcast?
Oh, you mean Dreamcatcher?
Dreamcatcher takes
That's
place
also
in Maine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically, if he needs a state, it's Maine.
Yeah.
So don't live in Maine.
Apparently, it's very dangerous and spooky.
But the last one is Parker, another character, mentions spider eggs and bubble gum.
Yeah, I didn't know that one either.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Point being, it's like we obviously don't recognize all of them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, like, some of those you don't recognize. So I'm just going to start going through them. And again, spoilers for kills. Because
Yeah.
basically all these urban legends are kills. But the first one's the cold open. And I just want to say right now, great cold open.
Pretty good cold open.
It is, I think, one of the better cold opens we've seen on this podcast.
Yeah. No, it
And
is.
It kind of sucks how good it is. Because it might be my favorite scene in the whole movie.
No, it's very good.
And it happens right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of so strong that it sets my expectations a lot higher for this film than they should be.
Yep.
With that being said, this cold open could totally exist as its own, like, short film because it's really well done. It's basically a 2-character short film with Brad Dourif, and Brad Dourif does such
So
a good job.
good.
He is such a likable character
Mhm.
for how little characterization he gets.
Yep.
But the urban legends, it's someone in the backseat, which is about a killer being in the backseat of a car, and a person doesn't realize.
Yep.
And I think that one was pretty popular. They mentioned it
Oh,
a lot in
yeah.
this movie.
I mean, I told Ben this. Sometimes when I get in my car, I check the back seat.
That is actually not one I was familiar with.
Really?
Yeah.
That is one that I heard about all the time.
But it is a trope in horror movies, I think,
Mhm.
nowadays. But I think this is a good time to talk about the cold open where, like, it's this woman, she pulls up to a gas station, and the song she's listening to, what's the name of it?
I don't know.
They keep saying Turn Around,
Yeah.
which the second you hear that song, you should know there's someone in the back seat.
Mhm.
But she pulls up to this gas station, and there's a gas attendant who fills up the car. It's Brad Dourif. And they do such a good job of writing him as, like, having some traits that someone who's a little bit more shallow could think of as, like, creepy. Like, he has a
Yep.
stutter. And, I mean, he's wet and stuff, but he doesn't look put together. Like, stringy, wet hair and
Mhm.
everything. Because it's raining. And so the girl who's in the car is getting freaked out by him. She's being mean about it, but she's
She is
getting
being
freaked
mean.
out about him. And we can watch him, especially if you're already in on the joke. Not the joke, but like what's happening. We can watch him real time figure out there's someone in the backseat.
Yep.
And then try to call her into the place without letting the killer know.
Yep.
And it's really sad because
Because he goes in and locks the door, and she assumes he's going to, like, kill her or something. So she starts freaking out and, like, trying to get away from him and, like, not having a good time. And he was just trying to help, man.
yeah. And it's like 'cause he ends up getting arrested
Yeah.
for her murder.
Yeah, because they're like, must have been this guy.
They definitely let him go because then there's
Yeah.
like a shit ton more killings on this campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first urban legend. Someone in the backseat with an axe. And that's the first time we do see the killer, which is just a person in a ski. It's not even a ski outfit. It's like a
Like a puffy jacket.
parka thing.
Yeah. With, like, fur on the top of the
Most
hood.
egregious thing in this whole movie is you can't see the person's face
Yeah.
in this parka. Assumedly, they're wearing like not a hockey mask, a
ski
ski
mask.
mask. But it's still like,
They're definitely wearing a ski mask later in the film when you're supposed to be able to see their face.
well, it's either eye.
It's either eye, but during the rest of the film, it's not. They're not.
It's just
Dark.
shadow.
It's just dark.
But I don't know. I don't think it's a bad costume.
No, it's just not, like, iconic in any way.
Yeah.
It's kind of once again, my problem with this film is generic slasher with cool spin.
Yeah. With that being said, for whatever reason in this universe, especially because it feels like it's still warm out, like early fall. Literally everyone has this jacket
Yeah.
and is egregiously wearing it.
It's everywhere.
Someone at a pool is wearing this jacket.
Mm-hmm. It's
Every
hanging in
staff
someone's
member-
office. Yeah.
On campus has one.
Yep.
It's just so over the top with
Even-
this jacket.
The motherfucking janitor has one.
Yeah, and it's like does not look cold enough for this jacket because this
No.
is a straight up like winter coat.
Mm-hmm.
It must be hot. But moving on, next kind of urban legend. Apparently, they reference like this whole one that happened on campus.
Oh yeah, what is it? The Stanley Hall massacre or something?
Yeah, with like a university cover up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, that's supposed to reference something about a hatchet man, which is like a guy who targets like campuses and stuff.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that one.
Which I think has apparently been traced to an actual serial killer.
Holy shit.
Because I mean, that's the whole thing with urban legends, is they're probably maybe based in some of them,
Some of them can be based in reality, yeah.
but then a lot of stuff gets changed
Mm-hmm.
as they get told.
And that's part of like some of the meta jokes is people talking about like
The fact that like,
Yeah.
In fact, the movie ends with two of the characters discussing the events of the movie, and they're like,
Mhm.
people are gonna tell this,
as an urban legend,
but everything's gonna be changed.
Yeah,
to where,
like-
like I'm this person, and
you're that person and blah 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 blah.
long story short, the film does end with us getting to see some other students that are like
At a different
basically
school.
an exact copy of the students in this movie
Mm-hmm.
telling this urban legend in
Yep.
the same way the students we saw at the beginning of this film were telling other urban legends. All right, next one we see is originally during Dr. Wexler's lecture, so Robert Englund's lecture on urban legends, which is the Pop Rocks and Soda,
Mm-hmm.
which everyone's heard that one, right? Where,
Yeah.
like, if you eat Pop Rocks and Soda, your stomach explodes. But we do actually get to see a kill later on.
Yep.
But it's
That
not Pop Rocks and Soda. it's-
replicates that in a funny way, in a devastating way.
And I think that's a really good example of how this film, like, will take an urban legend and change it
Mm-hmm.
to be a lot more
Deadly.
deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, Pop Rocks and Soda isn't real.
No, it's not deadly at all. You're fine.
So they use Pop Rocks and Drano.
Yep. And it's a good kill.
It's fun.
I like that one.
Next one, They do the urban legend with like the two people go out in a car and park,
Mm-hmm.
and the boyfriend gets out of the car,
Gets got.
but then gets hung above the car, so his feet hit the roof.
Yep.
Freaks the girl out. Again, they do a nice twist on it where like the rope hanging them is tied to the car,
Yep.
and they're still alive, so that when the person,
Drives off, it hangs them.
yeah,
It's really cool.
fun kill.
Fun kill,
A big one in this film though is the gang headlight thing.
which I didn't get.
I hadn't heard that one before. It's supposed to be real, but it's basically if you're driving down the road with your headlights off, there's apparently an urban legend about a gang initiation where they'll drive down the road with their headlights off, and if you flash your high beams at them to tell them like, hey,
Your headlights are off.
they'll chase you down and kill you.
Yep.
That one gets referenced a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk about why in a little bit. Next one, and this is the one that really, really annoyed Bob,
I was mad about this one.
is I think the name of the legend is usually "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?" Where basically the general idea is someone goes into a room and they know someone else is there,
Mm-hmm.
and generally they don't want to like
Disturb them.
disturb them, so they walk into the room without looking or turning on the lights and like go to sleep or something, or just go somewhere else. And while they're in the room, that person's being like murdered.
Yeah.
And so when they walk back into the room later and they turn on the lights, someone's written, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn off the lights?" and like blood on the wall. Long story short, a character gets murdered and Natalie walks into the room without looking or turning on the lights, and it really pissed Bob off.
And she just goes to bed.
Yeah. They're set up for it. I don't think it's as egregious as Bob made it out to be. However, I do think it represents a big issue with a lot of these urban legend kills, and that's that a lot of stuff has to go exactly right
Yeah.
for them to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really do have to suspend your disbelief with the whole premise. So I don't think that one's any worse than anything else in this movie. I just think it didn't work for Bob because he didn't understand the reference.
Yeah, and the reference helps, but also it's so hard for me to suspend my disbelief.
I don't know why, because we've watched slashers before. Every slasher movie requires that. And this one in particular, because so many of these kills require things lining up perfectly for them to work. I mean, even the one that we just mentioned with like someone getting hung up above a car requires that person to get out of the car by themselves, get hoisted into the air without the person in the car realizing, and then having that person drive off. It's just, you need to suspend your disbelief, and it's fine.
Just that one in particular, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't do anything. The other ones are like cool or interesting, but I'm just like, okay, this is my initial thought is this is stupid.
That's fair. It is mostly because that one's just like a pretty generic murder.
Yeah, that's fair.
Next one is someone gets their like ankle / Achilles tendons sliced by someone under the car.
Yeah, that's one that freaked me out for a long time when I was a kid.
I hadn't heard that one either.
Really?
Nope. That one is pretty graphic though, because I don't know if you know what happens when you get your like Achilles tendons
Actually, no.
cut. Basically, your muscle,
Yeah.
your calf muscle,
Mm-hmm.
will just shoot up into your leg because the tendon connects it, and like
Oh,
muscles are under like
yeah
stretch.
Stretch.
So when you cut the tendon in your Achilles tendon, the whole like muscle just shoots up because it disconnects.
Oh God, that has to hurt so bad.
And you fall over because like you can't
Mm-hmm.
hold your weight.
Fuck that.
Next one is there's a party and we're hearing the song Love Roller Coaster. Someone claims there's an actual like murder scream in it. It's an urban legend.
Didn't know that. I thought that was just a bit.
Apparently it's an urban legend.
Huh.
There's a lot of these I don't know, which is kind of interesting to see because it's like, wow, you put in so many more than even I recognize.
Yeah, same.
And I think definitely knowing those going in would help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In a similar vein, a character, I bet you guys can't figure it out, gets murdered while on the radio. That's also an urban legend.
Yeah, I knew that one.
They do the old lady dries her dog in the microwave one.
Didn't know that was an urban legend.
Of course it is. They actually say the name of that one in the movie. They thankfully say the name of a lot of these,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. If you couldn't figure out, it's Hootie.
Yeah, Hootie gets microwaved, and that might be the most gore we see in the entire film.
It is, but it's just gore chunks
It's still
with
gross.
some hair. Poor Hootie.
Poor Hootie. Didn't
Hootie had a
deserve
rough
any of that.
life. His owner gave him a nose ring and then gave him a shit ton of beer.
Yeah, that dog was drunk as fuck.
And the last one they do is the whole like kidney thing. where you
Yeah,
get your
that one
kidney
I've
stolen.
heard.
That one's pretty famous. It
That's-
also referenced a shit ton in movies nowadays.
Oh yeah,
Okay, that's kind of all the urban legends said, and I just want to say they're all kind of cool.
they're all cool.
But your ability to recognize them, I think, really does affect your enjoyment. The last thing I want to talk about here, before we can kind of leave this spoiler section, assumedly go to our ratings, is the ending of this movie, right? Basically, I'm going to spoil this whole thing here. Throughout the film, they gave you a couple, like, red herrings, right?
Yeah, you're given quite a few.
And there's different levels of, like, red herring for, like, okay, like, very obvious, less obvious, and least obvious. And the three big red herrings, they're all dudes, are Dr. Wexler,
Yeah,
the janitor, just
Mhm.
because he's creepy. Dr. Wexler's a red herring because, like, he's the urban legends guy.
yeah. So like the obvious pin is dependent on him because he knows them.
And also, he has a traumatic past. He
Yeah,
was involved. That urban legend about the killings on campus
yeah.
actually happened on this campus,
Mhm.
and he was the lone survivor.
only survivor.
But then the third red herring is Paul. That one got Bob
That one got me hard.
because they do a reveal at the end, and they're like, "It's actually Paul,"
Mm-hmm.
because they find a body
In
the
Paul's
back.
car.
Yeah, and they keep that kind of reveal going for a good
A while.
5-10 minutes
Yeah,
at the end of the film.
and you're like, damn, it really is Paul.
And Bob even got to the point of like, they should have just ended the movie right there.
Yep.
I know who the killer is. It's a wrap.
It's all wrapped up.
Got so confident. I had like multiple different outtakes, like couple minutes apart of you going, "Yeah, this is why I got it." But it's not Paul. And
No.
I think, to be honest, probably one of the most solid parts of this movie is the actual reveal of the killer.
Yeah.
Because not only do you not necessarily expect it,
No,
like you can figure it out because it's one of the few main characters that just happens to not be where any of the murders
yeah,
are.
but I bought the Paul bullet so hard that I didn't think about it.
But you can buy the Paul bullet pretty hard because it's just obvious enough to be a red herring,
mm-hmm.
but also just obvious enough to be an obvious cover-up for a real killer. But the real killer in this is Brenda, who is the best friend of Natalie. And why are you laughing?
I thought you forgot her name again for a second. You stuttered, and I went, "Is he gonna remember?"
Oh, no. And remember when I mentioned there's some like egregious names in this movie?
Oh yeah,
that are meta
sure.
references? It's Brenda. Her last name's Bates.
Like the Bates Motel. That's not good. Oh God.
So it's just one of those funny jokes of like, if you know horror movies,
If you know, you
go,
know.
Oh, it's obviously her. But I think it's such a cool reveal because like it's not often you see women slasher killers. It's super 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 rare. So that's like kind of cool.
It's pretty rad.
It's a very memorable part of this movie. But the actress for Brenda does a good job of playing just someone who's completely psychotic.
Oh, she's lost her marbles by the end of the film.
Because most of the movie she seems to be one of like the most reasonable, like down to earth characters.
Very level-headed.
And then right at the end she does this whole switch up with the killer reveal, and it's pretty great.
Yeah.
I also want to mention, and I think it's a fun little tidbit, Brenda has curly hair, right?
Mhm.
But for the entire movie, when she's like a normal person, her hair is up and kind of straight, and only at the very end when she goes crazy does her hair go crazy as well, where it's like frizzed all the way out. I thought that
I
was a
see.
nice little costuming choice. I guess what I'm trying to say is curly hair is evil.
curly hair.
This movie proves it.
Oh well, you have curly hair. Get out of my house.
But yeah, a nice little twist.
No, it's good, and I appreciate the twist mostly because it's well deserved. Like it was set up, and if I had been paying more attention and like not bought the Paul thing, I could have called it.
Yeah. And I think the most interesting part of the twist, though, is the reasoning behind it,
Yeah, she has good motivation.
because it's decent motivation. Now, it does not explain the murder of most of the characters,
No, that was the thing I wanted to talk
which
about.
I think is an issue in many slasher films, where you have a killer who goes on like a rampage for a quote unquote deserved reason, is that they'll usually kill people who are not involved.
Now hold on. She does explain why she does the killings on the other people.
But Does she?
Yeah. She goes, "You took away the one person that I loved. I'm going to take away all your friends and fuck with you until you go insane."
I mean, that's fair, but that's still like fucked up because they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything, but she was doing it as a revenge thing.
And also, they were her friends as well.
friends. You couldn't see it. I did air quotes there,
I know.
everybody.
But basically, we learn, and again, this is getting into the fact that Natalie isn't that sympathetic. Natalie was complicit in a manslaughter.
Yeah.
Basically, in high school, her and her best friend, Michelle, the person who dies in the cold open, were in Natalie's car. Michelle was driving, and they did that headlights urban legend with someone, where they had their headlights off, and then someone flashed their high beams to be like, "Hey, you're being unsafe. Turn your lights on so you don't crash or crash into someone." And then they proceeded to do a full speed U-turn on the highway.
Dangerous.
Dangerous as all hell. And then chase this guy down at 90 miles an hour, flashing their high beams so he can't see.
Yep.
He's driving fast because someone's like
Tailing him.
tailing him.
It's like chasing him. He's scared.
And they drive him off an overpass,
Yeah.
and he dies in the crash. And obviously the cops are really, really nice to these two kids and only give them, reckless endangerment?
Yeah, which is insane to me.
Both of them. Natalie is not driving, so maybe I can understand.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to feel bad for her. Because she even explicitly is like, I just didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. Like, I wasn't like, stop.
Yeah, when she totally should have.
Yeah. Especially because it was her car.
Mm-hmm.
But, long story short, the person who dies, they say when Natalie's telling about her tragic backstory to Brenda, was someone their age. And we learn eventually that this guy who died was Brenda's boyfriend in high school. And we hear her mention was probably her fiance as
Yeah.
well. And Brenda's whole thing is Natalie and Michelle killed him for an urban legend.
Yeah.
So that's why her murders are urban legend themed.
Mm-hmm.
Great reasoning.
Good
'Cause
reasoning.
They needed to buy me with some form of reasoning.
They had to, or else it wouldn't have worked.
And so the fact that that's the one they go with it's buyable.
Okay. Can I explain why I thought it was Paul to the audience? So I know.
Really quick, I want to say something.
Okay.
I do want to mention here though that for Brenda's reasoning for her murder, I do think Natalie and Michelle should have been reversed because Brenda decided to straight up murder the person driving the car, but
Mhm.
torture the one who was sitting in the passenger seat, and it feels like that should be reversed. Like she'd want to torture the one who was more responsible.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So I do feel
But
like
also, maybe she just had less access to Michelle and was like, I could kill her
no, but she could have
easier than I could fuck with her.
befriended Michelle,
I guess, yeah.
I just feel like they should have been switched for story reasons, but I feel like the reason they weren't switched is because they wanted to make Natalie more sympathetic, and if they said she killed someone,
We would not feel bad.
but then again, I didn't feel bad for her already,
Yeah.
so I'd rather just have more logical reasoning. Anyways, you can explain why you thought it was Paul.
No.
Although we are just gonna hear this in the outtakes because it's all we have.
True. Well, no, what I was going to say is they do a very good job at setting up Paul for having motivation to be the murderer. And that's kind of why I bought it. And that's something that's really, this is the reason I want to bring
He's
this
a
up.
sleazeball reporter.
He's a sleazeball reporter. Is that they do such a good job at covering up all of Brenda's nonsense with other people. Like, that's the best part about this film, in my opinion, is the fact that they do a really good job with Paul and Wexler and giving us other people it could be, to where at no point did I go, oh, it must be Brenda.
No, they do good with the whodunit elements. It's just not a good whodunit slasher because the characters suck.
Yeah, and that's the issue.
Okay. On that note, do you just want to go to the recommendations and reviews? All right, Bob. Go ahead and hit me with your recommendation.
If you want a whodunit film, I think it's pretty good for that. The mystery's good. It's a good setup. They do a lot of cool stuff with it. If you're interested in the concept of urban legends being used as a way to murder people, cool. You get to see some cool ones. You get to see some classics. I think they do a cool, fun way of twisting them to be more interesting so they're not as predictable as you expect. I think that's fun. If you want a movie that is a horror movie that's light on gore, not bad for that. The only, we mentioned it during the spoiler section, but there's only like one really gross, grotesque gore scene, and the rest of it, all the kills are pretty clean. There's blood, but there's not like, it's not gross.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're interested in watching, like if you're a fan of horror but you can't really do like disgusting movies, this one's pretty clean. It's not so bad. I think that's it.
Okay. I only got 2 for this film. Different from Bob here. But like my really big 2 recommendations are, if you like Scream, this is a very heavily inspired Scream movie. Definitely not as good. And I definitely say that I Know What You Did Last Summer is better than this movie. Because again, the characterization really brings this film down a lot. Because the concept's cool. But that really does hit it hard. But, you know, if you like Scream and you like that style of, like, kind of meta teen thriller, this is what that is. Maybe just not as executed well. But then my other recommendation is if you just like the idea of, like, some pretty egregious kills that are inspired by urban legends, this is right up your alley. Because that's the coolest part of this film.
Yep.
And just being able to go, like, all right, what urban legend was that? And just catch them in the moment. A lot of fun. On that note, hit me with your rating.
Okay, so like I said at the start of this post-movie thing, it's a mixed bag. Like, we mentioned it in the spoiler section, there is a couple of things that I just cannot get over because they're fucking insane to me. Like, I just witnessed it and went, I think that's really stupid, and I just can't get over it. But there are some moments there are some high points. Like, I think the use of urban legends as a way to get people killed is a great concept. Like, conceptually, awesome. My problem with this film is it doesn't execute all of them to the degree that I want. Like, some of them are lacking in ways that could be more interesting, while others are just like, oh, that was a really good interpretation of that legend. So that was a good way to use that one.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this very specifically in our spoiler section when I covered all the urban legends in this movie, but some of them are just carried out so much better than the others.
Yeah.
The cold open is the part I'll say is the best part of this film,
Mm-hmm.
and like could basically stand alone. It's so good, but the fact that it outshines
The rest of it.
everything else so blatantly is kind of an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the only example of that. There's some urban legends that are just like head and shoulders
Mm-hmm.
above the others.
And my problem is that it's inconsistent. Like, if they had all been as good as the cold open, this movie could be incredible.
Fantastic. Absolutely great.
And that's kind of where I'm sitting, is like, some of them are really good, some of them are not so good. The characterization, we've said this, I've been harping on all fucking movie, but it really sucks because a lot of the movie is a mystery of them trying to figure out who's committing these crimes, and it's just watching the characters investigate, and because the characters are not interesting, it's not fun. It makes the movie drag super hard. So I'm kind of in a weird spot. We also mentioned it, a lot of the side characters way more enjoyable than the main cast,
Yeah.
which is which brings the score up because while they're not on screen a ton, they're still more interesting.
They're still there,
They're still there.
technically.
I think while I think this film has some pretty big issues, I think I could safely give it a 3. I think it takes the premise of urban legends killing people. It does that. That happens. And it
It does do that.
does do that. It is passable and then has some extra other highlight stuff thrown on top to give it a 3. I almost gave it a 2.5, but there is some stuff in this film where I'm just like, that was really, really, really good. And then there's some stuff where I'm like, it's really bad. Balances out. 3.
Okay. I think I'm in a similar boat with Bob where, like, this movie's kind of meh for me, but it's not meh because it's a consistent mediocre,
Yeah.
but because there's some high points that are really, really good, and then some issues that are, like, blatant. And I think we covered them really well with Bob describing them, but to be honest, the really big one for me is, some of the issues with the urban legends where, like, some of the urban legend sequences are really long and good. Some are really long and not so great.
Mm-hmm.
Some are really short and really good, and some are really short and really bad. Basically, the consistency with urban legend kills are just all over the place. And having some, like, differences between how good your kills are is expected in a movie like this.
Sure, they can't all be bangers.
But it's just too inconsistent
Mhm.
with how good they are or how bad they are. And so that's, like, a real detractor. But my biggest issue is just characterization issues. It's supposed to be kind of like a slasher whodunit, like a murder mystery kind of thing of like, who's our killer? And that's great and all, but for most of the movie, we're following Natalie trying to figure that out, and I just don't care about anything that's happening to her, and that just makes all the parts of the movie where we're not watching the killer, which even like the worst urban legend kills are still interesting,
Yeah.
but that's not the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're watching Natalie for maybe 70% of this film, and I just don't care. Like, you can just zone out for sections of it, and that's a real big issue for me.
Especially because it's an hour and 49 minutes.
Yeah, it's so long. I had a good time watching it.
Yeah.
I will say.
It's fun.
And like the whole like back half of this movie is super high octane.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It just, the stakes aren't high again
No.
because I don't care about Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think to be honest, really most specifically for the issue of just characterization issues, I'm just going to give it a 2.5.
Fair enough.
It really would otherwise, I think, be a
A fairly good film.
decent, probably
Yeah.
like a 3,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3.5. It would really depend on the performances, but it really is like how these characters come out that really I think affected it for me.
Great concept.
Yeah,
Mediocre execution.
great concept.
And that's what sucks is because if they had just executed better on some of these like kills and some of these character moments, I could definitely see this movie getting like a 4.
You could get behind it.
I could get behind it hardcore because the moments where I had a good time, I was like, "Holy fuck, this is awesome!"
Oh yeah, and right off the bat, it was great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Good cold open.
Good cold open.
That by itself would probably be up there. All right, we're gonna go to Bob being super confident. So we'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. I'll be honest, they probably heard me being a fool in the outtakes.
It was so fun for me because I thought you were gonna figure it out from the fact I was marking you being so cocky.
No, because you normally do that stuff.
I do that too. But you were just like, yeah, I knew it. I was like, how'd you figure it out, Bob?
But I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back through. There's some specific stuff I want to cut that is also funny that's going to go in the outtakes.
Fair enough.
Because you didn't mark it, and I was like, that's a funny conversation.
Oh, you mean our conversation about
At the beginning?
Bloody Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Like, that's good content. So I'm going to cut that stuff too. But I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements? Ben?
The only announcement I have is, I believe I've timed this correctly. Part 11 for Friday the 13th is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's their second to last one. That's the penultimate episode of that series.
Yeah, man.
Friday 12 is coming out on Wednesday,
Then we'll be done.
which is the last one currently in that series. And I'm going to say, because I think Bob already knows this, is like essentially a remake.
Yeah.
So technically, tomorrow's the last day of the main Friday timeline.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't been listening to the Friday the 13th like series we've been doing, maybe now's a good time to listen because it's basically over.
Yeah. We've almost fully wrapped it up.
It's also
Crazy to me.
It's kind of exciting for us because we'll just be done.
Yeah, we've been recording so much extra.
Oh,
We have been recording for 3 months straight, like 4 days a week.
yeah, it's been so brutal.
It's
I'm
been
so
brutal.
excited to be done
Yeah.
because I like doing this.
Yep.
This is a fun hobby. Recording that much hurts
It's just like,
with a day job.
oh my God.
Aside from that, though, I don't think we have any announcements. So, usual spiel, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You're probably listening to us there right now, but that's like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other places. That includes YouTube. I know that's kind of weird, but we are on there. To be honest, maybe not the best for podcasts, but it's kind of nice because, like, you can do some interaction with us, like showing us some support with subscriptions or likes. But it's also nice because it's one of the 2 places you can communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific episode if you want to be like talking about something specific in that episode. It's kind of a good way to tell us something. Or you can go over to Twitter, or X
Stop.
at Beware the Board and go yell at Bob. Tell him your favorite urban legend.
Oh, that's a good conversation. I'm actually interested. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter. Not X. Nobody
X?
calls it fucking X. It
X?
looks like they send you porn links now. Because all of our
They-
text messages says x.com.
It was for a while. It was still twitter.com, but you
Yeah.
click on the link and it'd be X. But they finally fixed it so it's
x.com.
x.com.
Which I'm so sorry if someone reads our text messages because that
At
looks
least it's not, like,
heinous.
triple X.
No, at least it's not triple X. But like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at Beware the Board. It's where I post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you want to know about the show, it all goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that Friday's episode, which is basically a hidden movie cover that you can reveal so you can see what the movie is before we release the episode, so you can watch it before we do. Which basically just means that you can watch it, and whenever you listen to the episodes, you don't get any spoilers. When we're being vague about stuff, you kind of know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whenever an episode goes live, I post a link to the episode on our Twitter account with maybe a meme. That meme for last week's episode is hilarious. In context, it's
Oh,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Such a funny meme. I had to spoiler warning it.
PSA announcement.
PSA.
I was like, Bob can hang this up in his bathroom.
I'm gonna print that out and hang it up. That's so fucking good. Anyway, basically, if you miss an upload or want to know when something went up, there's always a link on our Twitter. Last thing, we do short form content on YouTube and TikTok. I know I haven't put one up in a while. It's because we've been recording 4 days a week.
It hurts.
I don't have time. I straight up don't have time to scrub old footage for new content for short form stuff. But once we're done, with all this Friday stuff, I'm actually gonna have time again. So look forward to new posts on our TikTok at Beware the Board and on YouTube Shorts. If you're into short form content like the show, check those out. I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see you guys next time.